Hey everyone, welcome to Infinite Realms. Today I'm going to take a look at Powertown Wrestling Magnum TA. I really wanted to do a video like I did with Bruiser Brody, and I knew there was going to be some stuff here that might get me in trouble, so you probably did not see it, because I ended up taking it down, but I put up a video with some test shots, and it was just a montage similar to the one with Bruiser Brody, and it got struck down. Copyright strike. So I had to take it down. My guess is that Magnum stuff is probably owned by Vince. I think the Brody stuff was not, and so it's a little bit more open license on that. So I'm gonna go without that and just talk about Magnum. I remember Magnum very vividly in his time in Georgia Championship Wrestling, which later became WCW. Jim Crockett Promotions, of course. And yeah, you could just see that Magnum was poised to become the babyface. And I always maintained, if they had gone through with it, we would have been talking about Magnum versus Hulk Hogan instead of Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan. Now, the figure has a nice bio on the inside, a very complete bio too, a really good one. And, first and foremost is about the figure is the jacket. The jacket is very stiff plastic. You cannot move Magnum's arms within the jacket. That to me is kind of a big deal, because this is a mistake Mattel has made and then goes around and rectifies. So this is not an unknown quantity. At the same time, it seems like a rookie mistake. Now the jacket is very well detailed. It's nice, but at the same time, it's no good if I can't move the figure around. Plus, Magnum really, he wore his vest more than he did the jacket anyway. So that would seem a bit more appropriate. For whatever reason, I have not been able to gather, the knee pads are separate. They're easy enough to put on. I just folded down the feet and just put them on over the feet. Found out later that you can actually take the feet off, but yeah, I don't understand that. Getting into the scaling, and I didn't really bring this up. I tried to bring this up during Brody's, and it was said by Powertown. I know at least on Lyle's Figure Files, when he interviewed the Powertown guys, they said it then, and it was said again on a podcast, and I can't remember the name of the podcast, and I couldn't find it, but they did say these would scale with Mattel, and they don't by a long shot. Now Magnum and Flair are close. Magnum was a little bit taller than Flair. Even though I think they listed them both at 6'2", I think Magnum was definitely taller than Flair. But the width of Magnum is ridiculous. It's the proportions that, if you ever watched Magnum in the ring, while he was very strong, and was obviously very strong, he was also very lanky. And in some ways, he was not the typical wrestler. He had very thin body type. And if you just look at the back here, that back is just, God, that is not Magnum TA's back by any stretch of the imagination. That isn't even, that back is terrible. And my other complaint is, while the belt looks great, the strap on the back sticks out so far. It's ridiculous. It's just like this big strap. And I've got it as tight as I can around Magnum, and it's still a little loose on him. You would think you would want a belt to fit him. I know you want belts to fit other figures as well, but my word, it's like at its tightest point, it's still flopping around on his body. Okay, so let's talk about accessories. There's only a few. There's a couple of hands, the belt, the jacket. We've already talked about that, and that's in the knee pads, and that's pretty much it. It seems very lacking in accessories as well. And for the likeness, I mean, it's passable. It's not terrible. Um, I think they went a little too blonde with the blonde, and they could have toned it down a little bit because Magnum's hair was blonde, but in certain lights it wasn't quite that bright. I mean, this is almost yellow, and I mean, no, Magnum's was more blonde. Flair went for the more, platinum blonde look, which is fine. I mean, but this isn't matching up to Magnum's hair either. It's really a shame because I mean, I had a lot of hope for these, and they're falling a little bit short of the mark. The other thing is articulation, and I know it's like, oh, well, they cut articulation to save money, and I was like, yeah, but Magnum did pull off a figure 4 several times, so I think by all rights you should be able to pull a figure 4 off with it, and you can. A simple thigh cut would have took care of that, and obviously not there. Never mind the fact that his legs, just like Brody's, they can't kick out straight. And the best they can do is start going to the side when you try to kick out straight. That, maybe I'm being too harsh, but that is a very rookie toy maker mistake. So, again, I'm highly disappointed in both of these figures, but, and, maybe I didn't express it enough. I really love both these guys. Both these guys were, my favorites as a kid, for different reasons. And get them in hand. I really, major thing was I did not expect to have that side kick, the front kick being so bad. The single joints, and I don't think everybody's understanding my point on the single joints with pins, is that it's cheap. It's a very cheap way to do toy technology. We know this. We know this very well by now. And that's more my point. It's not even that it's single joints. It's that, single joints with pins is the wrong way to go at any toy in this day and age. I mean, it's passable. It's a passable figure, but it's not a good figure. And at $45, you expect more than passable. The value, and that's what I was trying to say in the Bruiser Brody video. And I think at the time my thoughts were, I was so disappointed. My thoughts were not really fully formulated in a very good way. The value for your purchase is not there, is the problem. Because this is done cheap. And I did not mention, both these guys have some of the weakest ankle joints I've ever seen. They literally cannot hold up their own weight. And I don't know how many times I would set the figure down after doing a shot, turn around for something, and not 30 seconds later hear ka-thunk, and they're down on the floor. And I'm like, huh? And I realized it later, it's those ankle joints. Those ankle joints cannot hold their weight. And that's another flaw. I mean, these things are pretty flawed, and I've saw some reviews of some of the others, and yes, they're suffering the same fate. So, again, there's a lot of going on here that's flawed. I expect this from a Hasbro Marvel Legends. I don't expect this from a $45 figure. And I brought up Super 7. They have similar issues. You see it all the time, and people just gloss over it when they do the review. And it aggravates me because I can see the issues plain as day on the screen. And, here they're not so obvious, but they are here. Again, I really liked Magnum. I was really hoping for a good figure because I do think his Mattel figures were lacking. And I was hoping this would bolster him up a little bit. And honestly, I mean, it's not quite there. And someone had mentioned something about the Ric Flair figure I got here is like $32. It's only $10. Yes, but you got a lot more with that figure. A lot more articulation, pinless joints, several heads, a robe. I mean, on and on, a belt, and on and on and on. There was a ton of stuff going on here. So, bunch of hands. Whereas this one, you don't get as much. And again, I try to give indie companies a break and not talk about cost. But at the same time, the cost must be a factor here because are you getting the value for your purchase? I have to say, I don't feel like I got my value here. It bothers me to say that. It bothers me a great deal. But these were expensive. I mean, it was $100 for 2 figures. That's shipped. And I don't feel like the value is here. And it's not the first time I've spent $100 for one figure even. And if you were to put me to the test, I mean, the $100 MothX figures I bought, those are a better value than this. Okay? Even though they are half the price. More than half the price. And some say that's not a good criteria to criticize an action figure for. I'm like, sorry, I think it is. I have droned on here a bit. I'm not happy with the figure. 2.5 stars. I mean, the likeness is okay. That's, you can do stuff with him. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do really good poses with him, but you can do stuff with him. He's not totally useless. If they had had holes in the feet, that would have been helpful because they do keep falling over. So that'll wrap up this review of Powertown Wrestling's Magnum TA. I really wish I could say more and say better. I don't know if I'm going to be supporting Powertown after this. Road Warriors might drag me in. But don't bet the farm. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe.